Shields up, Iron Breakers. We're here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Diablo 2 Resurrected. Yes, Blizzard has officially confirmed that they've been working on a remaster for Diablo 2 during their BlizzCon line event this past Friday. And this is one of those moments where I'm extremely conflicted about this particular announcement, because on the one hand, I'm not sure if Blizzard has what it takes to really do justice to this amazing classic. Like, I realize that a lot of people ended up on my channel either through Dark Souls or some looter shooter that I've played, or most likely Monster Hunter. But before all of these games, before even I actually created content, because I started creating content around World of Warcraft a long time ago, but before all of that, like, one of the games that I would constantly keep coming back to was Diablo 2. Like, I've mentioned to you guys a million times on a million different situations that back when I was still in school, a teenager, like in classes and stuff, one of the things that I'd be doing in my notebook would be I would be working out the skill tree for the next character that I wanted to do. I'd be planning out the stats that I wanted that character to have. I'd be doing all of this while, you know, the teacher was trying to teach me something completely unrelated in class, and I'd be like, nah, dude, I'm all about them Diablo builds. As a matter of fact, Diablo 2 is the game that essentially awakened my passion for doing a bunch of different builds, which, if you go back during Monster Hunter World, that was one of the primary types of content that I would create. Would be like, hey guys, check out this build where you can do this kind of thing. Check out this other build where you can do this type of thing. And that is something that I did for Diablo 2, like, times infinity. Like, I've played that game for thousands upon thousands of hours easily with my friends, coming up with different PvP builds and different ways to farm hell. At one point, I had a friend of mine actually use one of the features in the game, which was imbuing. Because I got him into the game and he enjoyed it that much, he gave me his 3 first imbues for his character, and the third imbue ended up creating what was at the time the most powerful executioner's sword in the entirety of Europe. This was during Diablo 2 Classic, not Lord of Destruction. It was the most powerful executioner's sword in terms of raw damage, but it had a problem. It had hit causes monster to flee, which was freaking hilarious. But I'm just like, oh, just wear an ice blink and solve that problem. Like, for those of you that know about Diablo 2, you'll know what that means. Ice blink, monsters fleeing, all of this other stuff, right? But, you know, so on one hand, I'm not sure if Blizzard's going to be able to really do justice to this amazing classic, particularly with their track record when it comes to Warcraft 3 Reforged. But on the other hand, I also tested out StarCraft Remastered, and that was actually a pretty faithful remaster, which really reminded me of the glory days when I used to play StarCraft as well. Like, I never really played it super competitively, but I greatly enjoyed playing StarCraft, and the remaster of StarCraft was actually pretty good. So that kind of like gives me some modicum of hope. Like, I almost wish they hadn't done this, because then I wouldn't have to be conflicted. I wouldn't have to be thinking too much about it. But at the same time, I kind of feel like replaying this game with some of my friends can kind of like give us a really big nostalgia hit, which is essentially what they're going for. They're going for your nostalgia at the end of the day. That is what Diablo 2 Resurrected is. It's pretty much a hit of nostalgia. And I've talked about this during a stream that I did this past Saturday on Twitch, where I feel like their reasoning behind doing Diablo 2, because with Blizzard at this point, you're always thinking, okay, so what is the catch, right? Whenever they make a game that you think is going to be a good product, at least I know that I am, I'm constantly thinking, what's the catch for this game? And I feel like the catch for Diablo 2 is that they're trying to get you hooked so that you'll give them a shot in Diablo 4. I think that is essentially what they're doing. And supposedly, Diablo 2 is going to be releasing in 2021. This was announced during BlizzCon Line. We don't have a hard date. My suspicion, my personal suspicion, would be around a holiday. Because Diablo 2, I realize that probably some of you in my channel might have never even played Diablo 2, but Diablo 2 was kind of like one of those genre-defining games. At least to me, it definitely was. It was one of the most original action RPGs when it came out, and I know that some people have different stories, and they'll have other games that they consider to be more original than Diablo. But I think that what it did in terms of like getting players together in a multiplayer environment was friggin' outstanding. Like the way that they did BattleNet, the way that the channels in BattleNet worked, which, you know, you look at it back now, you look back on it now, and it seems like it was a very dated system, and it was, because, I mean, this was like in 2000, okay, the year 2000. So this was 20 years ago, but back then it was friggin' revolutionary. You basically had an online chatting system which made it very easy for you to team up with friends, send private messages to them and whatnot, and set up lobbies for all types of things that you would want to do to grab loot, and set up trade rooms and all of these things. It was particularly special back then, and what it did, I feel like, was kind of revolutionary, and it really marked me. Like, I made friends during Diablo 2, and not just that, but I also brought new friends into the game, and we all greatly enjoyed that experience, because those were kind of like Blizzard's golden years, as far as I'm concerned. Once they got a taste of that WoW money, things kind of changed, let's just put it like that. But back then, Blizzard would actually put out some really, really good games and support them for a good long while, and things were pretty much outstanding. So I'm going to be playing Diablo 2 Resurrected. As a matter of fact, I'm more excited about Diablo 2 Resurrected than necessarily Diablo 4, and I think that a lot of people kind of fall in this in this particular situation as well. Now, I do have plans for a video where I will be talking more about my thoughts in terms of like what I think about Diablo, but for today I wanted to kind of talk more about the features and what the game is going to be, and be a little bit more information focused than necessarily just my thoughts as I've been giving you guys for the past 6 minutes. And feel free to bring your own opinions into the comment section. As always, you guys know that I like to discuss all of this stuff and talk with you guys in the comment sections, but so let's get started. Obviously, one of the most important things is they're remastering the visuals of the game. If you are someone that owns Diablo 2, you can still go and download it from the Blizzard servers, like I know that I can. And the original game runs at like 800 by 600 resolution, which, you know, given today's standards, let's just say that at least for most PC gaming, I think most people play at 1440p. At least that is what I would assume. If your rig is maybe not as powerful, then sure, playing at 1080p, but usually you want to get a sweet 60 FPS experience, and let's just say that Diablo 2 is not going to give you that. Not only that, but, you know, 800 per 600 stretched across either a 4K monitor or even a 1440p monitor, it doesn't look particularly good. So, you know, this game's been due for a remake for a while now, and the visual side of it is an obvious thing that needs to be done. Now, when it comes to that stuff, though, a lot of people are very particular about what they like when it comes to a Diablo game. They very much make it super dark, despite the fact that Diablo 2 is actually a very colorful game, particularly when you get to Act 2, Loot Go Lane. All of those places are extremely colorful, but a lot of people still just remember it being super dark and gloomy and all of this stuff. So I think that not everybody is going to appreciate the liberties that Blizzard is going to take with the remastered visuals, and they did remake the whole thing, and like the graphics are actually now on full 3D. But interestingly enough, according to the explanation that they've given us during the presentation, the old engine is actually running underneath all of these visual improvements that they've made on the game. So like you have the game running on 3D with like realistic lighting, physics engines, all of these crazy things that they've done, but in the background you have the old game. And as a matter of fact, they said you basically have a button, you press the button, and you can see what it looks like underneath with all of the old visuals and all of that stuff, which I think is going to be very interesting to see. Like you're playing the game with the new engine, then you swap back to the old one to get your nostalgia hit, which, yeah, I think that is going to be very interesting. And now I hear some of you guys that maybe have played it to a more technical extent with Diablo 2, and are like, yeah, but the game runs at 25 FPS. How's the 60 FPS going to work out? If they're going to do 60 FPS, like what's the deal with that? And they're doing something that is actually somewhat similar to what we've seen in Demon Souls, which, if you guys remember, Blue Point, what they did was they changed some of the animations that you had in Demon Souls, but they made sure that the timing of those animations was the same as it was in the original game, so they didn't change the feel of combat. So in the improved Diablo 2 visuals for Diablo 2 Resurrected, what they're doing is it runs at 60 FPS, but basically the timing of your skills and everything else when it comes to whether or not you're going to get hit is still based around the 25 FPS engine of the old game. So they basically just introduce more frames, but they make sure that everything still happens at the same timing and cadence that it would happen in the original game. At least this is what they're saying, by the way. I'm just reporting back what was revealed at this event because I haven't played Diablo 2 Resurrected, so I can't actually tell you my own opinions on it, as in with playtime experience. But according to what the developer team has said, and they were questioned by a speedrunner, Mr. Llama SC, who talked a lot about like all of this stuff. So I already watched that interview and took some notes, and that's how I'm telling guys about this. But yeah, supposedly they're doing everything to preserve the feeling of old school Diablo 2, which if it works and if it feels exactly like that, I will be able to report to you guys exactly how it feels when the game actually comes out. But yeah, for now, it's just like, okay, here's what you said. I'll take notes on that, and we'll see if that is what remains on the final game. Besides remastering the visuals, they also remastered the audio. However, they said that they are keeping the most iconic sound, so that basically when you're playing the game, it doesn't feel like they changed everything around it. I believe that the original soundtrack is going to be preserved as well, which is a sensible choice, because that was actually one of the things that people complained a lot about the Demon Souls remake that Bluepoint did. Was the fact that they actually took some liberties with the audio tracks that not everybody enjoyed, which is why I said they should have just like kept the originals there and just let you swap back and forth if you want to check out the new tracks or play the old ones again. So the fact that they're just keeping the original soundtrack, I think, is very important, because I don't want them to change a single note on those guitars that they had, because like even just listening to the music during the stream was kind of like taking me back. Like, I know it's nostalgia is just one hell of a drug, but you know, it is what it is. So they're also touching up the sound a little bit to make it a little bit better. They're adding some quality of life stuff. One of the things they mentioned is that you're going to be able to turn on auto gold pickup, which is a good thing, particularly for consoles, because this game is also going to be supported on consoles. Interestingly enough, they didn't say anything about Xbox One, unless they're just considering Xbox Series X and S to also support Xbox One, which I thought was kind of weird. But they said it's going to be available on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and Series S. I personally might even double dip. Like, I really shouldn't reward Blizzard for this, because this is just such a special game for me. I kind of want to have it on Switch, but I know that my friends are probably going to be playing it on PlayStation, so I'm probably going to have to get both of those, because again, this and one thing bothered me during their presentation, which was them saying like, oh, Diablo is so special to us, and I'm like, is it really? Is this why you let this game rot for 20 years? Just like it took them 20 years to actually bring this game back, despite the fact that they knew that the audience really wanted it. It's like, oh my god. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little bit off track here. Another important thing to mention is that teleports, so the sorcerer teleport spell as well as the barbarian leap attack, are basically done at a set distance when you are on console, because basically there's no way for you to actually click on screen. That is going to be something that I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to see how it plays out. Don't tell me that I'm going to have to also get this on PC. Jesus Christ. But yeah, we'll have to see how that feels in the actual game itself, particularly because there's going to be some issues with targeting on console, because some spells in Diablo 2, they have very specific targeting with the way that you, just to give you guys an idea, the Iron Golem for Necromancer, which is something where basically you throw an item onto the ground, then you summon a golem from that item. And depending on how powerful the item is, that will decide how powerful that golem is. So, you know, targeting stuff like that, it can be a little bit challenging when you're talking about controllers. So I'm very curious to see how that is going to pan out, particularly because they've stated that behind the scenes, the game is recognizing every input as keyboard and mouse. Because this game wasn't developed to support controller, the original Diablo 2, and they want to keep as authentic feeling as possible. In order to do that, they're simulating like your controller inputs as keyboard and mouse, which I'm very curious to see how that's going to work out. Now, in terms of PvP, it works very much the same. You know, every match can host up to 8 players, and you can form your own parties within those matches, and you can declare hostility to somebody else in that match and just go after them and kill them, just the way that it worked in the old game. At least I don't think they're going to go Care Bear mode. I don't remember if there was like a PvE only option at this point, because I was always just jumping into games where there could be PvP. PvP was like a big appeal for me when it came to Diablo 2. A lot of the builds that I did were actually around PvP. This time around, there's going to be global play. What does that mean? There's no more US East, US West, Asian, Oceanic servers, European. It's like all going to be in one big server, and it's one of those things where I just have to say congratulations on finally catching up with the times, Blizzard. How about you do that for your other games, for crying out loud? Jesus Christ, it's a friggin' embarrassment that World of Warcraft you still need, like, if I want to play with someone from the United States, I need to have a completely different account because you can't cross mix match stuff between Europe and the US. Like, it's 2021. Like, seriously, fix your game already. It's just, this global play shouldn't be like this big feature that you announce. It just be standard. But yeah, that is obviously a good thing. Very big improvement from the original Diablo 2. This is done because they're porting over this particular version of Diablo 2 into modern Battle.net, which is going to accrue a lot of quality of life stuff. Just in and of itself, it's going to make it easier for us to find games and whatnot. You're going to be able to search games based on the difficulty, which is something that you weren't able to do. Basically, back in the original Diablo 2, when you advanced difficulty, so like if you killed the final boss on normal, then you would advance into Nightmare, and then all of the games that you would be searching for would be in the Nightmare difficulty. You know, there were workarounds. You could create a new character, or you could have a character that was still in normal difficulty, search the games that way, and then swap back to the other character and join the games manually. But, you know, this is some quality of life stuff that's actually going to be really good for you to browse through games on Battle.net and all of that. The fact that it is going to come to modern Battle.nets, it means that we will probably not see as many dupes and cheats as we had in the previous one, which actually a friend of mine that I got, the same friend that gave me his Imbues, essentially ruined the game for me when he just dropped a bunch of dupes like right in front of me for the best items in the whole goddamn game on closed Battle.net, by the way, which was their secure servers and whatnot. And I was just like, oh, you just completely ruined the game for me, thanks. And that was kind of like when I stopped playing Diablo 2, was when my friend basically destroyed the game for me. So yeah, supposedly we'll see a lot less of that, as well as any type of cheating or any of that stuff, which is going to be good. They do have planned support, which is weird because they've been talking about during most of these videos, they were saying, oh yeah, we're totally going to support cross-progression for your Battle.net characters. So if you have online characters, again, this is just for Battle.net characters because there's the option for you to play offline. Yes, you will be able to play this game offline according to what they're saying, which is like, oh, all right, I didn't know you guys still did offline games. Weren't aware of that. That's kind of news. But yeah, for your Battle.net characters, there will be cross-progression, which means that like if you own the PlayStation 5 version and the Switch version, you can play with those characters and progress through them. You still need to own the game on different platforms, and there isn't crossplay. At least they don't have crossplay planned. So while you have cross progression, you don't have crossplay at this point. Again, this could change in the future, who knows? But it is important to mention that when you go to the website, they say that cross progression is planned support. So I don't think they have it yet. I think they have a plan to put it in place by the time the game releases. So, you know, take this cross progression stuff with a grain of salt, and don't be surprised if when the game launches it's not there, because I know that I won't. But yeah, so there's all that. There's still offline support. And very much like it used to work on Diablo 2, after you install Lord of Destruction, you can choose for your characters to either be Lord of Destruction characters or classic characters. So classic characters will not have access to the Lord of Destruction items, which means there will be no charms, there will be no rune words, there will be none of these features that came with Lord of Destruction. Some of you guys might be confused, like, why would you want that? But yes, this is very important for people that have played Diablo for a good long while, because some people greatly enjoyed Lord of Destruction and some people much preferred the classic experience of Diablo 2, so it's nice that they let you have that. I'm assuming that hardcore works the same, so you can still have hardcore characters. There's also going to be ladders, just like you used to have back in the day, except this time they said that Diablo ladders lasted for 6 months. I've never been someone to care too much about the ladders. But those ladders lasted for 6 months, and they're saying that they're going to have shorter ladders this time around so that you can have the community more engaged with the game. Doesn't really bother me one way or the other. I just want to be able to play the game, get my nostalgia hit, and probably get out. Because I don't really foresee spending as much time as I played back in the day. I just want to get a nostalgia hit and see what it feels like playing it nowadays. And I know that some of you will say, well, you can just install it and play it now. I was like, yeah, but there are other issues alongside it. It's just, it was a different time. And I kind of feel like to get the actual experience that we had back in the day, you kind of need a CRT monitor because, you know, the game looked very different on those old ass big monitors versus on flat screens nowadays. But, you know, it is what it is. On top of all these other improvements, they're also doing some changes to the UI, some stuff to show your stats a little bit better so that you don't have to add up how much magic find you have, for instance, and all of that stuff is going to be detailed on a screen. And even I already saw some of the improvements that they're doing for consoles and stuff like that. So, yeah. It's like, all things considered, it seems that the team behind this is doing the game some amount of justice. We will see how much that is when the game actually releases. Because again, I'm still very hesitant when it comes to Blizzard stuff nowadays. But this is the team that was behind the remasters of Tony Hawk, which a lot of people have stated, I don't really play Tony Hawk that much, but a lot of people have stated that those remasters were actually pretty good. That team is Vicarious Visions, so they're the ones that are working on the remaster of Diablo 2. So what I can say is, hey, at least it's not the team that was working on the Warcraft Reforge crapshoot, right? Yeah, that team was dismantled. Yep, they were absorbed into other different teams. But yeah, there was also a lot of talk about Diablo 4, which I might do in its own video, talking about Diablo 4. But yeah, for now, this is going to be it. I'm very curious to see what Diablo 2 is going to be like in 2021. But at the same time, I'm also very cautious. Let me know how you think about all of this in the comment section down below. If you usually enjoy my videos, feel free to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, all of that jazz. If you enjoyed this video, like. If you did not enjoy this video, dislike. Feedback is important. I'll see you on the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.